You know that tiny remark that somehow ruins your whole morning? Honestly, we've all been there. One sentence can flip your mood before coffee. What if I told you that biological spike only sticks around for roughly 90 seconds? Unless you choose to keep replaying it? That's a key insight from the psychology of habits.
Ta-da!
Here's the
Look at
thing.
this.
Anger often comes down to a choice. It's not denial. It's the first step toward changing your routine and response. Neurologically speaking, the stress chemicals behind anger clear from your body in about 90 seconds. The problem is we fuel it ourselves, looping the moment in our head, rehearsing comebacks. That mental replay turns a quick zap into a long habit. It's like a smoke alarm screaming because you burn toast. And instead of opening a window, you stubbornly make more toast. Ridiculous. But that's how we magnify small triggers. Next time a driver cuts you off, take a mental note. What happens in your body and mind? This tiny observation can be a useful morning routine check-in for self-awareness. Your body floods with stress chemicals. That's the 90-second window. Then your mind jumps in. What an idiot. I can't believe that. And 20 minutes vanish with you still wound up. That's how small moments turn into long moods. Once you grasp the 90-second rule, you spot a decision point. You can let the chemicals pass, or you can keep fanning the flames. We all know someone who stays calm through chaos. They aren't magical, they've learned what you're about to learn. So let's go a little deeper. In the next part, we'll break down how to actually train that calm step by step. Chapter 1. Stop saying, "They push my buttons." Here's the real reason you react. Your triggers are invitations to heal. You are not some remote control people can press at will. We often say, "They know exactly how to push my buttons." We say that as if we're powerless gadgets. But truth is, no one can press buttons you haven't handed over. That's the button pusher myth, the belief that others have special powers over how you feel. Yet a button only works if it's wired to something underneath. Those emotional buttons, they're unhealed wounds, or moments when your core values were violated. So when someone pushes your buttons, they're really revealing where you still have healing work to do. Picture a coworker dropping that sarcastic line that always sets you off. Instead of snapping back, pause and ask yourself, what's this really about? Maybe it echoes your critical parent's voice from years ago. Suddenly, it's clear. The coworker didn't cause the pain. They exposed it. When you stop acting like a remote, you start operating your own emotional system. No one else gets to decide your emotions but you. Think about the person who triggers you the most. What they bring up in you has everything to do with you, not them. Chapter 2. What anger is really protecting? What's really behind anger? Here's something that might surprise you. What we label as anger often isn't anger at all. Anger works like an emotional bodyguard. It steps in to cover emotions like hurt, fear, or shame. When you snap after criticism, you're not truly angry. You're actually hurt that they don't recognize your worth. Anger steps forward because it feels safer than being vulnerable. Your partner forgets your anniversary, and you blow up. Beneath the anger sits hurt. That's the question your heart is really asking. Not through words, but through pain. Addressing the hurt instead of venting the anger changes everything. "I felt forgotten" lands very differently than "you never remember anything." Once you learn to look under anger, to name the feeling beneath, you stop fighting symptoms and start healing roots.
For us.
Vulnerability is where healing starts. Anger just builds another wall. Think back to your last outburst, the one that stayed with you. What was really underneath? Was it fear of not being enough? Feeling invisible? That's the emotion that needs your attention, not the anger. Chapter 3. The choice point moment. Your hidden power lives in the gap between what hits you and how you react. Between the moment you get triggered and the moment you react, there's a gap. Your freedom lives inside that gap. Most people have no idea this space is even there. Viktor Frankl realized this truth while surviving a concentration camp. No matter the situation, you still have the freedom to choose your response. A trigger lands and your body fills with stress chemicals. Yet before you react, there's a split second of choice. Once you find that choice point, you start writing your own story. Someone fires off a passive-aggressive email. Your instinct is to shoot back instantly. But right before you send it, pause and ask, what response will I be proud of tomorrow? That question activates your moment of choice. This choice point is your emotional superpower. It's the difference between being a pinball tossed around by life or the player controlling the game. Think about that one person who never seems rattled, calm, steady, grounded. They're not lucky. They've simply mastered the space between trigger and response. And you can too. Chapter 4. The Observer Self-Practice. Viewing your emotions the way you'd watch changing weather. What if you could observe your emotions like shifting skies, instead of getting pulled into every storm? Inside you is an inner observer, a part of you that can watch emotions without turning into them. You can notice anger is rising, heart rate speeding up, but instead of becoming the anger, you simply observe it. This observer self is steady and always here. It's the part of you that can say, I'm having the thought that this person is annoying, instead of this person is annoying. Your teenager rolls their eyes instead of reacting defensively. Switch on your observer. You internally say, I notice irritation rising. Just that awareness stops the hijack. Now you're watching the emotion from the outside instead of getting swallowed by it. From there, you can choose a response that's actually helpful. The observer self gives you emotional immunity. You can feel anything without letting it run you. Think of a moment you stayed calm in chaos. You were using your observer. Now you can activate it on purpose. Chapter 5. The Reframe Mindset. Difficult people are like trainers for your emotional strength. What if challenging people aren't roadblocks, but personal trainers for your emotional fitness? This shift in perspective changes how you view every difficult person. Each difficult person reveals the areas where you still need to grow. The critical boss, they're unintentionally training your resilience, helping you tolerate pressure without collapsing. That passive-aggressive neighbor is sharpening your boundary skills. Just like a gym trainer pushes you through tough reps, emotional trainers build your emotional strength. Your micromanaging boss fires off their 15th email today. Instead of, they don't trust me, try, they're helping me practice calm under pressure. Suddenly it stops feeling like persecution and starts looking like emotional strength training. You naturally shift into curiosity mode. What would help you feel confident about this project? When difficult people become trainers, you stop being a victim and start becoming a student. Every interaction becomes a chance to level up emotionally. Look at your most difficult relationship. Ask yourself, what emotional skill is this person forcing me to develop? What lesson is hidden here? Chapter 6. The Emotional Boundary Blueprint. If this helped you reframe something today, hit like, share it forward, and tap subscribe for more psychology-based insights. And drop your thoughts in the comments. I'd genuinely love to hear what this brought up for you. Protecting your peace without shutting people out. Boundaries aren't giant walls meant to block people. They're gates, and you're the one deciding what gets through. Here's how to protect your energy without turning into a fortress. Healthy boundaries work like skin. They let in what's helpful and block what's harmful. You just have to be clear about what you will and won't allow.
I
I
understand
get
you're
that you're
frustrated,
upset,
but
but
can
I
we
don't
just
respond
talk?
well to
No,
yelling.
you don't understand.
Let's
You never
talk
listen
when
to
things
me.
are
I am
calmer.
so done with
That's
this.
not aggressive.
Please, just
It's
calm down.
assertive. Your friend complains nonstop but never wants solutions. Instead of getting annoyed, set a boundary. I care, but I can only listen for 5 minutes unless you want solutions.
I care about you.
You protect your emotional
But I can
energy
only
while
listen
staying
to this
supportive.
problem for 5 minutes. Unless you want to brainstorm solutions.
Nah.
Hey, don't worry. You've got this. I know you can do it.
You're right. I feel much better now. Let's go.
Identify the person who drains your energy. What boundary would protect your peace? Chapter 7. The Strategic Timeout Protocol. Strategic retreat is different from running away. There's a clear difference between a retreat and avoidance. One strengthens you. The other weakens you. Here's how to tell which one you're doing. Sometimes the strongest move is stepping away from a triggering moment. That's not weakness, it's wisdom. You're letting your nervous system reset and your thinking brain come back online. I need a moment to reset. Let's continue this when I can respond thoughtfully instead of reacting. Not reactively. You're not walking away from the issue. You're handling it more skillfully. Say your partner brings up something heavy right when you're already stressed from work. Instead of snapping or shutting down, try, "This matters to me, but I'm not in the headspace right now. Can we revisit this after dinner?" You respect both the topic and your own capacity. Timeouts prevent damage that takes weeks to fix. 5 minutes of space can save hours of repair. We've all said regrettable things in the heat of the moment. A simple timeout prevents those "I shouldn't have said that" moments. Everyone needs a pause sometimes. That's normal. The grown-up move is asking for a break, instead of storming off or shutting down. Think back to a conversation that spiraled because you were already overwhelmed. A simple timeout could have changed everything. The tone, the outcome, the relationship. Chapter 8. The Trigger Mapping Blueprint. Know where your emotional landmines are. You wouldn't walk through a minefield with a blindfold on. So why do we move through relationships without knowing what sets us off emotionally? Here's how to identify them. Your triggers aren't random events. They follow familiar patterns. People who resemble your critical parent. Situations that feel like past rejections. Words that poke old wounds. Once you see the patterns, your reactions stop surprising you. Their tone sounds like my old boss who never trusted my judgment. No wonder I feel defensive. No wonder I'm getting defensive. Awareness is power. When you spot the landmine, you can avoid stepping on it. Keep a trigger journal for a week. When you're triggered, write down who was involved. What did they do or say? What did it bring up for you? You'll start noticing patterns. And those patterns are gold. For example, impatient authority figures always trigger me. Sarcasm sets me off because my sibling used it to tear me down. When you truly understand your triggers, you can prepare for them instead of getting blindsided. Preparation turns reaction into response. You shift from reactive to proactive. Calm, steady, grounded. Everyone has triggers. Most people just never understand them. Understanding yours is emotional intelligence. Pay attention to what consistently sets you off. What pattern do you see repeating? That pattern is your actual roadmap to emotional freedom. Chapter 9. The Compassionate Distance Method. Care without carrying the weight. You can care about someone without carrying their emotions for them. You can love someone without living inside their drama. Here's how to keep that balance. Compassionate distance means keeping boundaries while staying open-hearted. You can stand with someone in their pain, without absorbing that pain into your own nervous system. I see you're hurting, and I really care about you. How can I support you in a way that doesn't overload both of us? It's like being a lifeguard. You toss them afloat, but you don't jump in and drown with them. Say your friend is going through a painful divorce and calls every day to unload. Instead of absorbing their pain, say, "I want to support you. Let's talk twice a week. And the other days, let's focus on something positive." You're supportive without being consumed. Compassionate distance protects your ability to help long term. Burned out helpers help no one. We all know someone who carries everyone's problems, and it always breaks them down eventually. That's not sustainable or helpful. Think of someone whose drama tends to consume you. How could you care without carrying their weight? Chapter 10. The Inner Story. Stopper. Freeing yourself from the mental stories you create. You're not reacting to what truly happened. You're reacting to the interpretation your mind built. Shift the story, and your emotional state shifts too. Here's how to take charge of your internal storyline. Each time someone sets you off, your brain writes a narrative. They don't value me. They're trying to dominate me. But those thoughts are interpretations, not truth. What if their harsh tone came from stress, not dislike? The narrative you choose shapes how you feel. Your boss sends you a short, blunt message. Story 1. They don't like my work and want me gone. Result: anxiety and tension. Story 2. They're overwhelmed and trying to help me move faster. Result: curiosity and appreciation. Same message, new story, totally different reaction. When you notice these stories, you stop being ruled by them. You become the author of your emotional reality. Think back to a moment that upset you recently. What narrative did your mind generate? What different interpretation could also have been true? Insight without action changes nothing. Here's how to turn these ideas into your built-in reactions. This is the moment your growth becomes your default mode. You integrate skills through repetition, not flawless performance. Pick one practice and stick with it for a full week. When a trigger hits, recall the 90-second flush cycle. When reactivity rises, look for your moment of choice. Every new response reshapes your neural wiring. This week, commit to one tool. The observer mode works great. Each time you're triggered, simply tell yourself, emotion is rising. By the second week, it will start running on autopilot. Tiny repeated shifts lead to huge long-term change. Calm people aren't born special. They've practiced these tools until they became instinctive. You can learn this just the same. We all respect people who stay centered. Now you know the exact steps to join them. Picture the future version of you, the one who isn't thrown around by other people's moods or behavior. That calmer, stronger version of you, they're closer than you think, already waiting for you. Thanks you